Something that I find very sad has just happened within the last 24 hours. CONCACAF held an extraordinary Congress in which they unanimously voted to reject Greenland's bid for CONCACAF membership, which is a massive shame, and I really want to see football thrive and do well in Greenland. Greenland is a massive but very sparsely populated island with not the best infrastructure for football. They're renowned for having the shortest football league in the world that takes place in less than a month because their weather just doesn't really suit outdoor sports very well. And so they don't have a ton of football pitches that would meet any sort of international standard. I don't think they really have that many, even with artificial turf. A lot of it's just like clay courts, and so it's just like it feels like everything with Greenland chasing this dream of membership to any sort of major governing body was always going to be this massive uphill battle. And I was rooting for them. I was really hopeful. They had tried with UEFA before, but UEFA has some really strict rules around membership in terms of who they let in, and Greenland, as not an official nation, was never likely to get in. It's become clear that it was basically going to be impossible for Greenland to gain membership to UEFA because they're not a recognized nation, and all the stuff around their infrastructure was still a worry. So they ended up switching gears and looking towards CONCACAF membership, which, whilst Greenland might be more aligned culturally with Europe, they're just as a confederation. I do think CONCACAF membership makes more sense. They're a small, fairly poor football federation that doesn't have a ton of infrastructure, and they're not a sovereign nation. But CONCACAF houses those kinds of national federations. There's quite a few members of CONCACAF that aren't not only are not associated with FIFA, but also aren't sovereign nations. And so Greenland perhaps had a better shot with CONCACAF, who do house these kinds of federations. But once again, those infrastructure worries, I think that's probably the biggest thing, is they don't really have any high quality football pitch to even house games. I believe they had a deal with the Icelandic Federation that they could play home matches in Iceland, which wouldn't have been ideal, but would have at least given them the chance to play in some competitive fixtures. Right now, all Greenland gets to compete in is the island games, which, whilst fun, if you want something more, the island games are only so much, and they're not the highest standard by any means. And even just being in CONCACAF for the Nations League, even if they lose every game, that's regular football against actual federations with these like just to be a part of CONCACAF and get to play regular games. It would have been a really big thing for Greenland. And I really wanted to see it work out. It just doesn't seem like it's going to in the near future. There's also travel concerns. Greenland is quite far away from everyone else in CONCACAF, bar maybe Canada. So whilst it's somewhat difficult, again, with all the poorer federations within CONCACAF, organizing travel between two tiny Caribbean islands isn't going to be that massive of an organizational headache in the same way that getting a poor Caribbean island to travel up to Greenland, which would probably be happening if Greenland were taking part in the Nations League games. That would have been very tough and a massive financial strain on a lot of federations within CONCACAF. So that probably also played a part in this to where yeah, Greenland's just, it's hard. I don't really know where Greenland even goes from here because this seemed like their best shot at getting some sort of membership, and their federation seemed more suited for CONCACAF, and so there's maybe some hope that it would have worked out. And I still believe it can work out. I think that there's a lot of challenges facing Greenland, specifically with their infrastructure. That's going to be a very hard thing to fix. And they're relatively isolated from the rest of the world, certainly from CONCACAF. So there's always going to be issues, but I don't think it's inevitable. I do still believe that there is some chance that at some point in time Greenland could get membership to CONCACAF, and I really hope they do, that it's not going to be this time. There were some suggestions that Trump's insane comments about taking over Greenland, which It's so weird that Trump's like done all this. He's mentioned it with Panama and Canada as well. He accidentally created the most charged political hockey game since the Miracle on Ice in the U.S. versus Canada. Really bizarre stuff from Trump, and that may have affected it. But I have a feeling that even without those comments, Greenland probably wouldn't have been accepted into CONCACAF. So it's a very hard thing for Greenland. I don't know where they do go now. I could think of maybe trying to join CONIFA. CONIFA, I'm sure, would accept Greenland, but they also have not been very good at organizing tournaments. CONIFA, they've tried a few times to get tournaments going up, but CONIFA also has a pretty big uphill battle with their member. Well, they just call them members. They don't even call them like states or nations. And they have, for those who don't know, CONIFA is basically an organization for independent football federations that aren't quite like national teams. Like some of it's like region teams or Northern Cyprus, who don't have a route into UEFA or FIFA membership and aren't themselves a sovereign nation, though I think they're recognized by Turkey. Um, they would have had a shot, like they're a part of CONIFA and probably one of the better, like more organized members of CONIFA. But they also like recognize people groups, so not just like regions, but actual peoples that wouldn't have any hope of ever having FIFA or UEFA or even like AFC CAF membership. But they have some sort of thing there. But because of how, you know, small these members are, it's really hard for them to organize tournaments, which has been shown in that they haven't gotten a world championship since 2018. So I don't know if that's really the direction Greenland should go in either. There doesn't really seem to be any good answers for Greenland, which is very sad to see. And I'd love to see it work out at some point. And if there is anyone from Greenland watching, I genuinely am rooting for you. I'd love to see Greenland get membership into CONCACAF. And I hope it happens at some point, but it's not going to be now, and I just feel a bit sad about that.